I much appreciate this experience, this opportunity. It's a privilege, I guess, and I guess I'll probably approach this with a bit different way of going about things. And as you'll see, my tech skills aren't that good, so my slideshow is going to be very basic and to the point, I guess. We've approached all of our practices throughout my time as a land manager as with production, profitability, holistic approach, and for the betterment of our ecosystems. And now I need to, well, our beginnings. Well, I guess my journey began in 1990, being introduced to rotational grazing, gaining many different forms on the land. A lot of my time spent observing landscapes, wondering what they may have looked like at different times through history. And I wonder how we can work with these natural systems in a way that is beneficial to both humans and nature. My approach has always been that I don't know what I don't know. My wife and I have managed large-scale beef cattle rotations from northwest Queensland, average rainfall of 425 millimetres, to northern tablelands in New South Wales, average rainfall of 1200 millimetres, and now 2.5 hours west of Bundaberg, just west of Eidsvoll, which is not far from where James is based, and our rainfall is 650 mils here, which we haven't had a great deal of over the last 3 years. With the different land types and rainfall, our core principles stayed the same, matching our stocking rate to carrying capacity. Carrying capacity is determined by effective rainfall. Our rest period is determined by our plant growth rate. Each of these properties we've put all of our stock into 1 or 2 mobs, ranging from 500 breeders through in the north up to 3,000 dry cattle in 1 mob. And paddocks ranging from sort of 30 paddocks through to 85 paddocks in the south. I guess once we started to put all these systems together, our realisation was that these systems created greater environmental outcomes in so many different ways. The signs almost instant in each of the different regions. It was like succession sped up. This comes back to the intensity of the rotations, whether we were moving stock in every day or whether we're moving stock every sort of week or 10 days. And as you can see, the biodiversity was continuously and always moved, whether it be the plants, the trees, the insects, the bird life, the soil health, the ground cover. Our hydrology was always ever increasing, daily water cycle was improving, nutrient cycling, less erosion, reduces in flood effect, fire, droughts. From our nutrient cycling down in the south, we were able to recognise that we could actually move our nutrient from 1 paddock, we could move them 2 paddocks down. So whatever we were using natural fertilizers down there, and we were finding that 2 paddocks down in our rotation, we were finding that nutrition or that fertilizer within 12 months. So I guess our benefits, same sort of deal. It was the reduced flood impact, better soil health, carbon from the soil health, then the water from the water holding capacity from the carbon and the soil health. And then that created our better ground cover. Then this created less runoff on farm and downstream. And I think the benefits there are only going to compound the more we get these systems in place across our country. I think we can probably create a spot where there is less impact on our cities and coastal towns that typically get flooded, and we can slow that water down easily. Reduced drought impacts, the soil health, the same deal. Soil health, the carbon, the water holding capacity, the ground cover, the cooling of our environments, less erosion, less runoff, better water cycles, environment more stable for the wildlife, the production lifts, the profitability lifts, the mental health improves, and maybe less spending on natural disasters. Wouldn't that be great? And from my understanding, all farmers want good environmental outcomes. This just depends on their journey and where they're at. All comes back to the view of the world and the education level. This can mean so many different things. Exposure to training for each individual, exposure to other production systems. From my experience, further down the regenerative journey, the more likely farmers are to think whole of ecosystem when implementing practices on their land. And some of these farmers have even been using these practices for many years, have created ecosystems and conservation areas with some assistance, but mostly off their own back. So from my experience, the roadblocks for farmers is the trust, the changing goalposts, creating farmers not to trust decision makers, price variation with the carbon. My understanding is the accus are $22. I think everyone's pretty much said this today. $22, and the EU market's something like $91. The specifications with grants and schemes, the unrealistic, like conventional farming water systems might use 42 and 50 mil poly pipe versus someone rotating 500 to 1,000 head of cattle would need 63 to 75 mil poly to have adequate water, and or only allowed 25,000 litre tank when mob could drink up to 80,000 litres a day. Funding won't cover these because it's not conventional. Fencing off creek systems and farmers' opinion is that that is their most productive land. In my opinion, this is an opportunity actually to build ecosystems. Farmers unwilling to adopt schemes and programs because the fears of being locked out of or into something in the future. Farmers that have already created great ecosystems have limited rewards for previous achievements. There we go. So what is a healthy landscape? Is it a sign of daily water cycle, nutrient cycling, insects, wildlife productivity, carbon, soil health, plants, trees, grasslands? Who determines what a healthy landscape is? Is it the landholder or is it collaborative? Is there a benchmark? Nothing in nature is isolated, and not one system fits all. By coming together, what is possible? We may be able to create benchmarks, use other ecosystems as benchmarks. Once we improve our ecosystem, the bar may lift. So from the
I
education
just might give
side,
you a 3-minute warning, 2 or 3 minute warning there, Damien, just so we can stay on time.
yeah, cool. Thank you. So from the education side of things, we probably need to be educating people on what is a healthy landscape and who is to determine this. The training side of things, for land managers, it's soil health, grazing management, hydration, field days, mentors and communities. Support levels, I guess we've seen all these today, like the NRM, the educators, the Landcare groups, mentors, great achievers in our communities that can impart knowledge and so on. So from my experience, which comes first in our education? Is it the training, or is it the training of healthy landscapes? Mine was the training, which has then opened my eyes to what is actually possible. And I think we have a lot to learn from like the Indigenous knowledge. And going back to the fire thing before, the Indigenous can teach us so much about that. People making a difference. Just quickly, I spoke with this Andrew Braun the other day. He's at Ebor in New South Wales. He put in a chain of ponds I think 12 months ago, and he's already got a platypus in there. And they've owned the property since 1981, and they'd never seen a platypus on the property. Kevin Gibson at Rolleston, he's got wildlife counts there of over 110 bird species. I think I'll wrap it up there, or otherwise I'll completely run us out of time. So thank you.